You are massively in debt.
I'm massively in debt about that. Fine. Because guess what? I don't have to pay that debt.
Why property? Why?
I met my first landlord and I said, excuse me, what do you do for a living? He said, well, I used to be a solicitor, but now I'm a full-time landlord. And he explained that he'd buy a house, he'd rent it out, and the income he'd get, the rent, would be more than the mortgage, the insurance, the maintenance, and he'd make profit every single house.
What would you say is one of the mistakes that you've made?
I made so many mistakes, and one of the big ones actually is, and I think that's what people think, is they think they have to have a big pot of money before they invest. And one of the things I'm sure we'll talk about today is actually you don't need that much to get started. Even if you're well paid, there's a limit on how much you can earn.
Is that rule number one, is never limit your income?
Yes, but most people do. I've had students who've replaced my income in 8 months.
8 months?
8 months!
Okay, so tell me about that. I get messages all the time asking me how I went from $100,000 in bad debt to a $13 million portfolio. By watching this show every week, I will share exactly how I did it, how I achieved it, and the lessons that I've learned along the way. So do me a favor and please subscribe to our channel. It's simple, it's free, and it helps keep the show going for you. This is where you eat and we talk about changing the way that you think about money, with insights from successful investors, entrepreneurs, and everyday people taking control of their financial futures. So double check that you're subscribed, and thank you for being part of this journey. Welcome everybody, welcome to the Lunchtime Investor Show. Remember, this is where you eat and we do the talking. And I have here an amazing guest, and that is the one and only Simon Zutshi.
Thank you, Mark.
We've known each other for many, many years. You're, of course, the founder and the CEO. You're running the property. Well, it's pinned for me. Yeah, everyone knows it as pinned. Well, the Property Investors Network.
That's the long name, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Brilliant.
I think we first met at Tony Robbins, probably about...
In the 90s.
I was early 20s, early 2000s.
Okay.
I think that's when we first met.
You were late starter.
Yeah, I was definitely. And I wasn't doing what I do now. You weren't doing what you do now. And we were just normal people then, and I think we just connected there. And then maybe volunteering at Tony Robbins as well.
Absolutely, careering it. I did that for years and years and years. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant.
It's been a long time.
It has been, and you've had amazing success, obviously, as an investor yourself.
Yeah.
And the theme today is, beginner money mistakes that cost you thousands. Is it fair to say you've made a few mistakes?
Of course. Yeah, I think anyone, if they actually invest, everyone's going to make mistakes, because sometimes we invest without education. We kind of, how difficult can it be? We kind of do it on our own, and then we realize, oh, maybe it's not as easy as we thought.
But yours is mainly property.
Yes. I do invest in stock market, I invest in businesses, but mainly in property.
Mainly property. And you have some cryptos as well, right?
I have some crypto, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really interesting. So, but why property? Why?
Well, I think when I was a student at university, I met my first landlord, and I come from a fairly middle class family. My dad was a doctor, so my parents owned their own home, so we didn't pay rent. We had a mortgage, obviously, or they had a mortgage. And so when I went to university, the concept of renting was kind of new to me. But as a student, once you come out of halls, you rent a house. And I remember meeting my landlord, and he lives on a very posh road in Birmingham called Farquhar Road. Very, very posh.
Oh,
very posh. And this huge house. And me and my friends, we had to go inside. He was a hands-on landlord. He'd move the tenants in. He wouldn't do the maintenance, but he had people to do that. But he'd organise it. He'd chase, laid rent, all that kind of stuff. That's not the kind of thing we teach people to do, by the way.
Yeah.
But he had this massive house. And I remember sitting down in his office. We were all signing a contract. And I said, as a kind of cheeky 19, 20-year-old to him, I said, excuse me, what do you do for a living? Because I wanted to live nice. There was on. And he said, oh, well,
I'm done for asking that question, though.
Well, yeah, he said, well, I've always been a bit cheeky like that. And I've always been interested in kind of making money. And he said, well, I used to be a solicitor. I mean, solicitors are pretty well paid. But then he said, but now I'm a full-time landlord. And I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but it kind of went in my head. And later that year, when I was living in his house, he'd come round every so often to check. And one afternoon I was there and I said, hey, would you like a cup of tea? So he said, I'll go have a cup of tea. He sat there. I said, tell me how this landlord thing works then. And he explained that he'd buy a house. He'd sometimes do work to it, sometimes not. He'd rent it out. And the income he'd get, the rent, would be more than the mortgage, the insurance, the maintenance. And he'd make profit every single house. I said, oh, that's good. And then I said, how many you got? How many you got? And he said, got about 100. This is in Selly Oak in Birmingham.
Oh.
We were worth about 50, 60 million pounds buying out.
And that's back then?
Well, back then he had that many houses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So And I think a seed went to my head. I thought, that's really good. And I thought, right, when I've got money.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that's pretty good, yeah.
Exactly. And I thought, well, when I've got some money, I should invest in property. And I think that's what people think, is they think they have to have a big pot of money before they invest. And one of the things I'm sure we'll talk about today is actually you don't need that much to get started. And so as soon as I got my first job, that was with Cadbury's on their graduate scheme in Birmingham, 1995, I bought my first house.
How old were you?
24.
Hold on, you bought your first house at 24. That seems quite young to me.
Yeah.
Do you think that's still possible today? I mean, possible.
Well, I think it is quite young, and I'm talking a long time ago now. I've been in property 30 years.
You don't look.
I know, thank you. And
I have to be nice to my guests, right?
of course you do, yeah, definitely. Want us to come back, yeah.
By the way, what is with the pink shirt thing?
But I got the mirror, didn't you?
Yeah,
Sure, so-
well, obviously we did this.
Exactly, yeah, there you go. So I was living in not very nice student houses before that. No central heating, no double glazing. And I thought, as soon as I get my own home, I'd like to do that. And I rented out some of the rooms to my friends who were still at uni. And what they paid me in rent kind of covered the mortgage of the bill. So I kind of lived for free.
But hold on, it sounds to me like you're a bit of is it businessman or entrepreneur? You've always entrepreneur. Okay,
Entrepreneur.
What's the difference between the two?
Well, you can have someone who's a really successful businessman, but they might be an employee. They might be running a business, but they're an employee. They get a paycheck every month. An entrepreneur, I think, is someone who takes a bit more of a risk. They maybe start a business where often, you pay yourself for a period of time. And, maybe you pay other people to start, but you're the last person who paid as an entrepreneur.
That's interesting they say that, because obviously as an entrepreneur, you're clearly an entrepreneur. I mean, the way that you asked the question, you're very inquisitive. Most people are like, oh, I dared ask the question, but you asked the question and that gave you the idea. And now you've made millions upon millions upon millions based on that idea. And remember, what we're going to be talking about this episode is beginner money mistakes that cost you thousands. Now, you're an entrepreneur, so you have made one or two mistakes. What would you say is one of the mistakes that you've made?
I made so many mistakes. And one of the big ones actually is when I bought my first property, I was living there for free because I had my friends renting from me. And I should have bought more. And it took me 3 years to get my second property.
Really?
Because I wasn't, although my landlord had all those properties and I thought I should do that with it, I didn't think I was in a position to do that. I thought you'd get lots of money to invest.
Yeah.
And so I was doing my job as a graduate. I was trying to impress to get a graduate job, a senior manager job at the end of that, which I did in the end. I had a part-time business running student nightclub events, which was a really fun business to do at that age. And that's actually how I made the money to buy my second house. That gave me the deposit to buy my second property, which was obviously slightly closer to Cadbury. So I and my friends moved into that house. So my first house in 1998, I turned into a student rental. So I've been a student landlord for many, many years.
Yeah. I wonder whether this is giving anybody any ideas, because I actually think that is a great story. Yeah, you had an idea, but only, what I like about it, I know I've said it before, is that you were inquisitive. You said, oh, come and have a cup of tea, and ask questions. Yeah, because that's where it all starts.
Still, you should always be open to ask questions, and you got to do it in a polite way and not be too nosy. But I think if you do it in a fun way, I think most people, especially if you're going to put them on a pedestal, they're really happy to talk about what they've done.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. So your biggest mistake is that, one mistake that you made is that you didn't buy enough properties. Enough. And then your second one, right? You got your second one.
And then I took another year or so to get another one. So if I had known what I know now, and if I had realized that actually you don't need a lot of money to buy a property when you know what you're doing, I would have bought a lot more property much better. My students now, it took me 8 years to completely replace my income. I've had students who've replaced my income in 8 months.
8 months?
8 months.
That was what they're earning?
Well, I had one guy who was only about 50K.
Okay.
He replaced the income in 8 months.
8 months.
8
Wow. Is that the fastest? What's the fastest ever?
Well, I say people learn different amounts.
Of course.
But 8 months is pretty much replacing income. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. 8 months. Well, I don't know what everybody here thinks, but I think...
And that's sort of residual income for the rest of your life.
Okay, so tell me about that. What does that mean, residual income? I love that word.
Well, one of the secrets of really wealthy people is they understand that they want to break the link between time and money. Most people, we have a job like I did at Cadbury's, and even if you're well paid, there's a limit on how much you can earn. You don't have a certain amount of time.
Is that rule number one, is never limit your income?
Yes, but most people do.
Yeah.
Because they're paid by the hour and they have a certain number of hours. Now, some people get other jobs. So they work extra hours to make more money, but you still only have a certain capacity. Whereas what wealthy people do, they break the leak. So they invest in assets that are going to create income for them, what we call passive income. So my properties, they make me money. I'm sitting here, I don't have to be speaking to NAS. I have other people managing my properties. I spend an hour a week managing the people who manage my properties.
Two things there.
And that's it.
One of them is that you mentioned residual income, and then you mentioned passive income.
Yes.
What's the difference between the two?
Okay, so passive income is they're very similar, I think.
Yeah.
I think you got to work once to set the income stream up. So you got to go and buy, in this case, buy a property. You got to find the right property. You got to get it set up. You got to get it ready, get it rented out, etc. And then the work is front loaded. You do a lot of work up front, and then you have very minimal work ongoing. If you manage it yourself, which I did at first, it doesn't take a lot of time.
That's residual, is that?
I'd say that's.
As you said, it's
because it's ongoing. It's ongoing.
Yeah.
Whereas passive income, and I don't think there's anything completely passive. You know, I'd say an hour a week is not bad for my property, the income I make from it.
Yeah.
But it's not completely passive.
Totally.
Yeah, I think even investing, there are certain things in your stock market, you can put them into certain funds.
Yeah.
You've still got to check
20 minutes a day, I still have to do something.
Yeah. So, but if it's the money you can make compared to the time you put in is just so much greater than if you had a job.
Yes.
Where you're working, or even if you have your own business, you're working for yourself.
But I love the fact that you can do this while you're still working. So you can do this alongside. I know that I guess the first day. So talking about mistakes then, I'm guessing that one of the mistakes that most people make is that you don't know what you don't know, but you realize that the wealthy people have cut this link between time for money.
Yeah.
Right. And so most people are breaking rule number one, which is no ceiling on your income. And you are immediately doing that when you exchange. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
What other mistakes do people do? I guess, having bad debt, credit cards.
Yeah, I think, so let's talk about good and bad debt.
Okay.
Hopefully you all read Robert Kiyosaki's book, which is the classic, right? And that really, I started buying properties before I read that book.
Really?
But when I read it, I thought, that's what I've been doing. I'm buying assets that create an income, put money in your pocket, and that go up in value over time. Whereas most people use things like credit cards to pay for holidays and things, which you might have a great time. But if you put a holiday on a credit card, and if you don't pay it off,
Well, that's the key.
So credit cards can be really powerful. They give you cash flow when used correctly. So you can pay for something now. You don't actually pay for it for 56 days or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But the key is to pay it off on time. Because if you start paying the interest, which could be very expensive on a credit card, that holiday that might cost you £2,000 over time could cost you tens of thousands of pounds if you don't pay it off.
And what I find is I've only once kind of been in a situation where I didn't pay the credit card. I can't remember why. But once they have you, oh my goodness, it spirals very, very fast. Have you ever been in that situation?
I have, yeah. And it's the reverse of compound. Compound investing is where you're making profit, you keep on reinvesting.
Right.
And it grows, yeah. But most people have the negative side of compounding.
That's terrible.
Where their debt just keeps on getting worse. And I've had that. Like I've had debts and things, and
Bad debt's bad debt.
I had bad debts.
Yes, because you have a lot of good debt.
I have a lot of good
debt. You are massively in debt.
I'm massively in
Read
debt.
about that.
Fine. Because guess what? I don't have to pay that debt. My tenants pay the debt.
Yeah.
And there's some money left over, so I made profit as well.
So that is really important, the good debt, bad debt. I mean, people talk about it, but it's really, really important. My father actually worked 23 years for a bank, and he is like, he doesn't have any hair, I was going to say pulling his hair out, but he basically is in his 80s, and every time he says, have you paid off your properties yet? Have you paid off your properties yet? Have you paid off your... I'm saying, but why? Why would I, because it's just a different generation.
So, I mean, we're going to talk about bad advice at some point, I guess. And the problem is we have to be very careful who we listen to. And everyone's got an opinion. And sometimes that opinion is valid and often it's not. And when I was thinking about buying my second property, so I had my first one, I've been living there a couple of years. It was in the student area in Birmingham. I wanted to move close to the Cadbury's, a little bit further away from students. And I had a financial advisor, the top financial advisor from a particular bank in the Midlands area.
I'm looking forward to this story.
I had a business bank manager who saw this money for my student nightclub business in my bank. Said, do you want an advisor? I said, yeah, great. Let an advisor come on.
Do you not?
So the advisor came along and he said, do you have any insurance? I said, no. So if it's a life insurance advisor, which is a good thing to have. Yeah. If you do it correctly, that is. Most people don't. He said, how do you want to invest your money? And I was dabbling in stocks and shares at that time. I bought some EE shares, which has done really well. That's orange as they were in the day. And I said to him, well, I'd like to buy another property. This one is a bit small. I want to buy a bigger house close to work. So he said, okay, how much is this one worth? What's the mortgage? How much equity is there? How much you want to buy? And he did a few bits and pieces on a piece of paper. He said, great news, Simon. When you sell this house, the money you made with the money you got, you're about to buy the new one and you have a very small mortgage. And
Sell the house?
Yeah, because he said, well, most people, if they want to move to another house, which I want to do, they sell the first house to buy the next house.
Right. Okay.
And that's what this financial advisor, that's what he's telling me to do.
But don't you have to pay like tax and you have to...
Well, no, not when it's your own home.
Oh, well, it's your home.
Although that might change with the current government, might change that, but still.
Non-political here.
You can sell your own home, and even if it's tripled in value, you pay no taxes. Okay? So he said, well, most people, to buy the next one, you got to sell this one, you got some money as well. But the good news, Simon, you have a very low mortgage. And he said the best thing you can do is to pay off your mortgage as quick as possible. Now, if you only ever have one property, i.e. your home, that's actually quite good advice. And we are conditioned that debt is bad and that we should pay down our debt. So he was saying you should pay that down. But as property investors, actually what we do, we use the equity in our home or inherited properties, whatever, and we can invest that to buy more assets which generate more income for us. So rather than selling that first property, I retained it. I bought the second property. I had to put a bigger deposit in. I got a mortgage on that. And I'm so pleased I did, because if I'd listened to that financial advisor, I may not have built the huge portfolio I built. I may not have started teaching other people how to do that as well.
So great story, because one of the mistakes there, then I guess, is the difference between, well, I was going to say people's opinions and advice, but that actually was advice from one of the top, you said, IFAs
in the Midlands area for that particular man.
But so surely then, when you get advice, take it from people who have a track record in doing what you're listening to do. Because if it would have been somebody who had themselves X amount of properties which you wanted, they wouldn't have given you that advice.
No. So he was coming from his knowledge, his experience as
doing the best he could.
A homeowner. And the most of the clients he dealt with were, and this was 1997, remember? So there wasn't YouTube, the internet was only really starting, there weren't YouTube channels, people didn't know.
What do you think then, Simon, is that people would actually say something like, whoa, before we start, how wealthy are you? Even if it's an IFA. How did you make your money? Like, interview the IFA, and say, well, I'm looking to do this. Have you done this? Do you think most people would do that?
No, I don't. I think you assume they've got credibility because they've had to qualify to be an IFA. He was recommended to. We do. Yeah. And so it's really, what you said is absolutely right. You've got to find people who've got the relevant experience, and that is a more valuable opinion. Because, if you speak to accountants, solicitors, they're clever people, they're professional people. They may not have the expertise to advise you in the area that you want. You'll try to get,
but they sound very good, don't they? So and some of them have very posh accents, and it's a.
And they
had your posh accent, by the way.
I think you do have a posh accent,
because I think James has a really posh accent.
You're definitely well spoken, Marcus. Yeah.
Well spoken is one thing. Okay, how about this then? All right, stories. Why waiting? How about this as a mistake? Why waiting to invest is the most expensive decision?
Well, I think a lot of people put off investing because they don't have enough money.
Okay.
And actually, we both know that, Tony, how you invest, you don't need a lot of money to get started. And I think getting started is such an important, even if it's just a small amount of money.
It's a habit.
It's a habit, exactly. You're getting into that habit. And as you get more money, you can invest that. But if you don't start the habit, you're never going to get around to it.
No, absolutely. This is this whole thing about perfection, waiting till you're ready. And then you're like in your 70s, 80s.
Well, by the time. I mentioned Tony Robbins. We're both big fans of Tony. We've done lots of work with him over the years.
Yeah.
And one of his things talks about is perfection is actually an excuse. It's an excuse not to. I've got to wait to
the lowest standard, isn't it? That's the lowest standard. But that's interesting because people wait because maybe they say, well, I don't have the right money, for example, but also the knowledge. You don't want to just jump in. This whole program is about making mistakes. So is it okay to jump in a little bit?
I think
it's like a balance, right?
So there is a balance. There's definitely some education needed. Okay, but then also you learn by doing. But some people, they educate, and never actually take action. So there's definitely a balance there.
They're learning. They never get rid of the L.
Yeah.
The actual earning part. So how do you avoid mistakes then?
Well, I think first we've got to accept that you're going to make some mistakes.
Okay, so you can't really, you're not on board.
No, you're not going to avoid all mistakes, but you can certainly minimize mistakes. You can make sure you're not making the fatal mistakes that most people make. Look, you don't want to say, well, I want to invest in stocks. I'm going to invest £100,000 straight away. You probably open up a dummy account. You start trading paper money to gain the confidence. Absolutely. You get some lessons. If you're going to invest...
Did you say dummy account or demo account?
Well...
You were a dummy account.
I said dummy account, but actually maybe that's more relevant. Maybe it's a dummy account.
Maybe it should be called a dummy account. Fair enough.
Dumb money, most people lose money that way. You're investing in stocks.
So what would you say is the biggest, well, you've already said one of them, but another one that you can think of?
Well, I think not doing, talking about rushing in, not doing due diligence, not understanding an investment. I've invested in some overseas properties. Because they seem very popular, glossy brochures.
It's going to go on.
Romantic. Yeah, exactly. But that just, early 2000s, where the global market was booming, everyone was buying everything around the world. But I didn't do enough due diligence. And then the global financial crisis came, which not many people predicted, and then everything shut down.
Oh, no, but hold on. You couldn't have done anything about the second part. So, that wouldn't have happened. Would it have been okay? Because we bought 2 in Romania. We bought 1 in... where was it? Prague, and I think there was 1 in Cyprus, 2 in Cyprus.
So I had 1 in Spain, had 1 in Morocco. Spain would have been okay, but Morocco, it was very difficult to borrow because it was much better value than Spain.
Okay.
And about a degree warmer, and they speak French rather than Spanish. I speak French. So that was some good reasons, and all the budget airlines were opening up, going there. And the king of Morocco wanted these, I think it was 4 or 5 resorts along the coast, and they were opening up banks for foreigners. Then when the global financial crisis came, no one could borrow it unless you're Moroccan, and so I've still got a half-built building somewhere in Morocco.
Oh, have you? Oh, you still got it?
Well, it's half-built.
So that's half-built.
God, money lost.
You think with a camper van, though, if you could go and visit it, is your problem?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, you don't sound convinced there.
But the point is that when you invest, you are going to make some mistakes. If you're waiting for correction, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
But you can... And you also learn, but it's better to learn from someone else's mistakes rather than making yourself.
Okay, so good. So we've said, okay, you're going to make mistakes, so kind of that's great. How about making them a little bit faster?
Learn fast.
Okay, so as long as you learn from them, and then it's no longer a mistake, we can call it a learning opportunity. So there's a learning opportunity. But I think most people don't want to make mistakes on it.
Yeah, but then you have to take some risks. Otherwise, what's life about if you're not taking some sort of risk? I'm not saying you're going to casino bets 17 black. It's a calculated risk.
Yeah, a calculated risk. Yeah. And doing them maybe a little bit faster, each time learning from them, hopefully, and then hopefully not run out of money because you've made so many mistakes.
Well, it is a fight, but maybe you're not learning from mistakes if you're running out of money. Maybe you're not listening to the messages you're getting from the universe.
Proof. Okay. Why don't we have a look at a video? Okay. And let's see whether there's some good or bad money advice coming up here.
Okay.
Let's watch. I'm not going to say whether this is a good or bad example, but let's just listen to this video. This is saying quit your job right now with no backup plan. Okay, already I can see both sides to this. All right, let's play this. Oh, I'm going to take some notes here. Let's take some notes. All right, here we go. And
quitting your job with no backup plan is the best decision you can ever make. Let me know if this sounds like you. You're in your 20s, you have dreams of starting a business, traveling the world, backpacking around Europe, but you have a job that you don't really like, but it pays you pretty well, you're comfortable, you're living at home, you have no bills, and you're just sitting in place. That situation sounds similar. You have to go all in, burn the boats, quit your job tomorrow, no backup plan, put in your 2 weeks and go for it. Start the business, take the trip. The worst thing that can happen is you have to find a new job that pays you the same salary. Because guess what? That job that you just quit is hiring your replacement tomorrow with no remorse. You're saying, oh, I'm worried my friends are going to judge me that I quit my job to go backpack Europe or start a business or start a YouTube channel. Who cares? I have a close friend who sells cookbooks and meal plans for a living, and when he first started out, I guarantee you he got shit from his friends and family, but now he makes way more money than anybody working a traditional 9-to-5 job. He plays pickleball in the middle of the day. He's the tannest guy I know. He's one of the happiest guys I know, and he's an incredible cook, and now he's extremely successful. If he let that get to his head when he first started, oh my God, I wonder what my friends and family are going to think. I can never pursue this. He would not be where he is today. If you're watching this and you have a dream of a business or starting something on your own, go for it. Who cares what anybody says? Quit your job right away. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. I'm gonna have to ask you. So, what's your reaction to that?
I think generally that's bad advice.
Okay.
But I think there are a couple of interesting points in there that I would agree with.
Okay. So let's start with the bad advice. Why do you think
So,
bad advice?
I
Make mistakes fast, we said.
well, I think having a job and having an income coming in gives you some of that stability. Sometimes people get a bit lazy and comfortable because of that. And actually, if you had no job, putting your feet to the fire, I can see that creating momentum and getting things done. For some people they just go down a terrible hole and never recover. Okay. I guess if you're 20s, in your early 20s, you got times you could lose everything. You don't need to make a lot of money for living at home and no bills. Which
I think that was what was key, right?
Yeah.
If you're in your 20s.
Yeah, so you've not got responsibility, you're not family, you're not got a mortgage, you're not got kids. And I get that. And I think going out and traveling, exploring the world, there are many benefits, meeting people to doing that. But actually, I just like the stability of a job coming in because
You might get a job.
I had a job. And
That's
but
just because you like chocolate.
I love chocolate. Yeah, and it's a dream employer, right? But I had a job and I ran a business in the part-time in my evenings and weekends, which gave me not quite, but almost as much as I was making the cab.
So you've got money coming in.
Yeah, so I
you're doing
sort of
something-
both. Now, I actually did leave my corporate job and I was a senior manager, never thought I was mad, etc. But I had income coming from my property and I had my part-time student.
So you had a backup plan.
So I had
So he's saying no backup plan.
yeah.
Burn the boats. I do talk about burning the boats.
Now, well, you see, I get that. And for
Because then
some
you have to
people-
succeed. You have to.
Yeah, but does everyone succeed? How many businesses failed in the first year?
Yeah, but what he says is that you can. Oh, well, let's talk about. Maybe it is you go into property.
But I tell my students, don't quit your job. If you're going into projects,
I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
It's
It's got to be a second pillar, right?
absolutely. If you hate your job, use this as the motivation for your spare time, evenings and weekends, to put the time and effort in to build that alternative pillar, second pillar, whatever you want to call it, to bring the income in. And only once you have enough money coming in from that second pillar should you then consider leaving your job.
Absolutely. And what is enough? Is it
Well-
as much as a second or enough?
Enough to cover your bills.
Exactly.
Enough to because you might be earning more than you need.
Yeah.
Right. But what do you actually need to pay the rent or the mortgage and the bills and everything so that you have
Yeah, top-
positive cash flow. You don't have to talk, the bases are covered.
Yeah.
And actually, if you're investing in property, if you have a job, it's much easier to get mortgages. You can save some extra money to invest with. So some people, they get made redundant. Now, if someone's made redundant and they got a bit of a payoff, I would say, well, rather than finding another job, if you ultimately don't want to do a job, use that opportunity because that time and you've got some redundancy, then you can invest in property and then you've got to make it work within a certain time period. But that's very different to you choosing to leave your job.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's another thing here, which I think, because as we talk, I have a third idea, which is like nothing to do with this, which is, why do MBAs kind of get offered to people who have already experience? You could do a pre-experience MBA, so they're just listening, but they don't know what the hell people are talking about because they don't have any experience. You do it after the experience. So how about this? How about think about something you want to do, get a job, don't worry about the money because you're there to learn, not to get the money. And this could be 6 months, 9 months, maybe 12 months max, so that you learn what to do and you learn what not to do. And then you do this thing and start to do it. Because you're going to make so many mistakes by yourself. But they say, yes, it's good to learn from your own mistakes, right? That's clever, smart, intelligent. But it's wiser to learn from the mistakes of others.
So I think you need to think about what do you want to do. If you want to be an entrepreneur and set up a small business, actually go and work for an entrepreneur because then you see what it's like. You would spend
And if you can, in that field.
Absolutely.
The advice, get it from somebody in that field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in a big corporate, being in a corporate, having a job is so different from running your own business.
Yeah.
And I was in a corporate, I know, and it's a world apart. It really is. And a lot of people, they leave corporate, they're very successful, they go and set up their own business, and they massively struggle because it's so different.
So different.
They are just better. So I was going to say, why, if you're in a corporate and you don't want to do that, and you want to be an entrepreneur, want to go work for an entrepreneur in their business, in the same sector if you can,
Yes.
and you'll learn so much doing that.
But you might learn you don't want to do it.
You might absolutely know you and think, thank God I didn't do that. And the advice about, oh, you just go and get another job. Well, it depends what level you're at. You know,
Well, he's in his 20s.
there's so many graduates who don't have jobs.
Doing worse at that.
So too many graduates. And I think that if you take yourself out of that employment arena for too long, it might be very hard to get back in.
Interesting. I think you can always get a job though. All right, let's see what you think about this, right? I would say to that person, I would say, I know I'm the right person for this job. In fact, I'm so certain about it. I'll work for you for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever we decide right now for free. But after that, when you offer me the job, which you will, because I know you're the right person, right? Then you have to pay me what you owe me.
I think you could do that. You could do that with an entrepreneur. You can do that with a corporate.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends on how entrepreneurial that head of department is in that corporate.
Yeah, we're talking about an entrepreneur.
Something like Capros.
Probably not.
Probably is.
Interesting though, you mentioned that. So when I was at university, I did a combined honours degree, had 2 dissertations, pretty full on 4th year I had.
Wow.
I only did 7 job applications to major companies like Unilever, Mars, Cadbury's, Procter & Gamble, etc. And I had 2 older sisters who worked for those kind of companies. So I kind of assumed that's the kind of job I'd get. I thought I'd get a 2-1, which I did. I had extracurricular things at university, so I was, not just an academic person.
I call on women.
And a few other things as well. But I didn't even get a single job interview. And so when I came out, I had to get some sales just to prove I was employable and to earn some money, right? Okay. So I was in massive debt when I left university, as most people are. Yeah. Not as much as these days, but I had student loans and things. But then, because I realised Cadbury's was the company I really wanted to work for, instead of 7 applications, I did 77 applications in my evenings and weekends while I was working just to earn money. Back then. So back then, 77 applications. That was in 1994.
Wow.
94. And I got 7 first stage interviews, 4 second stage, and I got 2 job offers. And one was at Cadbury's and one was at Boots. But the point I was trying to make was, I applied to Cadbury's the first time. I didn't even get an interview. So when I applied the second time, in my interview, they said, oh, Simon Zutshi, I'm quite recognisable. I said, did you apply last year? And I said, yes, I did. They said, I don't think we interviewed you. I said, no, you didn't. I said, why did you apply again? I said, because I'm meant to work here.
Love it. And
obviously that interview went well. And the second interview went, I got a job offer.
Yeah.
So I think too many people take no far too easily. If you really want something, you should go for it.
Did I ever tell you the story about Madrika, my business partner? She basically always wanted to work for L'Oreal. Right? In the end, she ended up having her own chain of beauty salons. But before that, she wanted to work for L'Oreal. So she, got the CV in, and they replied to her, there are no job offers. Thank you very much. She phones up the next day. Oh, hi, can I talk to HR? Because I said, well, no, there's no job offers. Okay, great. Next day, phones up again. Hi, can I talk to... Well, no, because there are no job offers. So, no, thank you very much. Next day, phones up again, right? And at this stage, right, the receptionist is like, is this woman stupid or what? And it's just like, are you not the right... Maybe, can you talk to her? And so the receptionist are blocking her, right? So one day, they are like in the canteen, bitching about Madrika, keeps phoning up, going, this woman, she will not take no for an answer, right? One of the managers hears this. Oh, there's a woman that won't take no for an answer. That's good. That's what you do, that? Yeah, that's fantastic. Got her in, interviewed her, hired her immediately. She became one of the top salespeople because she will not take no for an answer. And by the way, as a side note, I mean, that's a great story, but as a side note, as well, she always said, it's really easy to supplement, because, your wife would really like this. And by the way, if you bought this as well, they would, you're a member. Like, yeah, okay, fantastic. Anyway. So quitting your job with no plan is definitely one extreme. It is an extreme.
Yes, it's right. And look, it might work for some people.
Sure.
But I think the average person, I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay. But here's the other side of bad advice. What about saving your money in the bank? This is going way back. Work hard, study, work hard, save, and don't take risks, right? So we have here, I don't know whether we can show this very quickly, but it's quite long, but it's from Duncan James, studied at the University of Manchester, okay? He said, I would save your money in a bank if I was in your position. I think he's answering something. The question at the top is, should I save or invest? I mean, that is a broad question, isn't it?
That's very broad. I mean, it completely depends on the circumstance.
Right? Build up a buffer of cash that would enable your future to afford to pay off items. You could use this money in order to not need to work as many hours part-time jobs while in university. Now, I don't know how many people have actually got cash that they are going to then have a buffer of, he's saying, aim to build up 6 months, a 6-month buffer, and then go to university. How many people do you know who can do that?
I don't know anyone that's done that.
I don't know anybody who's done that. I mean, like, theoretically, that sounds really good, but
I think a lot, it's expensive to go to university these days. Just you have to take out loans, and mum and dad might help, etc. A lot of people do get jobs at university.
yeah,
But most courses, they're not full-time, are they really?
no.
So that's why people have got time to do jobs.
Do you think it's a good idea to get a part-time job?
You didn't? I didn't get a part-time job, but I did things.
Entrepreneur, you did an entrepreneur. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you did that. But most people would have gotten a job.
Most people got a job.
You're not normal, are you, really?
I'm definitely not normal.
Not normal. But then I got to ask you, since you said...
Did you get a job when you were at university?
Yes, in the summer, always.
Oh, yeah, but that's...
Or selling.
Yeah, I did that as well.
Flipping that goes.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, it's a dairy or even talking I did. What did you get?
I sold restaurant cards.
Restaurant cards?
Yeah, so you buy a card and it gives you 2 for 1 in restaurants. That kind of way before Groupon or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Did you get dogs? I got the dog set on me.
No,
I got that police called.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you get that, please? No. Okay, my street. Small talk in my face. Well, obviously, I got all of that. It was a bit of a nightmare. Good learning though.
But yeah, great learning. Door-to-door knocking, that's a great way to handle rejection, isn't it? Get off my land.
Definitely. So they're looking out into the window, then you close it and say, I saw you, you are in. Okay, so once you build up a buffer, we're still on this Duncan James thing. Once you build up a buffer, enough money to live for 6 months, then you should maintain the buffer. Yeah. So nothing there.
But that sounds like you're just putting money in the bank, which is a really stupid thing to do.
Right, there you go. There is nothing there about investing in an asset that actually has growth or gives you residual income.
And again, it comes to this traditional thing, you got to pay off your debt, put your money in the bank. Well, most bank accounts don't pay you as much as the rate of inflation. So money in a bank account is depreciating.
Totally.
So
you need money.
It's good to put money aside. You need to invest that
You have to.
so that money is growing faster than the rate of inflation.
Absolutely. But most people don't know how to invest or what to invest as.
Because they never teach it at schools.
That's right.
They teach at school.
You actually have a course, do you not, for kids?
I do have a course for kids, yeah.
Once a year. What kind of things do you teach on there?
We teach about, well, actually, what when you earn money, we talked about tax. Because most kids, young adults, they might have a part-time job. They probably don't have to pay any tax because they're not earning enough. So when they start a real job and they get the pay slip, I'm supposed to.
What is it nowadays, by the way? It used to be 12,000.
It's about just over 12,000.
Okay. Oh, that hasn't changed. The government has not just school.
Just over that. But yeah, it's not a lot. But the point is that people say, hang on a minute, how come what's this national insurance? What am I paying this tax? And so you don't get as much as you think you're going to get. And then when people are not living at home, when mum and dad are paying the bills, so they've got to start paying rent, and you've got to pay council tax, and they've got, I've got to pay my broadband and my TV losses, and I've got to pay my water rates. And so trying to help them understand what the cost of living is, so they appreciate that. And then talking about, well, how do you actually get a really good job? How do you stand out from all the other people?
Nice.
And then also, well, maybe you don't need to have a job. Maybe you could set up a business or have something part-time you're doing as well.
Yeah.
And we don't really even talk about investing. It's just sort of the basics of it. They just don't teach at school.
I like it. I have said that it's so needed. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So what about the phenomenon of compounding? Are you a fan of compounding?
I'm a big, when used correctly, yeah. It's done in, so if you make some money, you invest that and you get interest on the money or growth on the money you've invested.
And then,
yeah. And
do you not spend on it?
Properties, no, properties. Well, some people take some money out. They have money, but then it's not going to grow anymore. So if you're trying to compound, you have a period of time where you're investing, just plowing it in, reinvesting and growing. And then maybe we get to a certain age, some of you might take out. But the key is take out less than the growth. So you're always increasing
increasing it, even if you take some out.
Yes.
That's a really good distinction. And you said you get to a stage of that. So what?
Well, maybe
Is that your range?
maybe it's an age,
Your range?
certain amount of income.
You get,
No, I'm not there yet.
you're not there. Yeah, I noticed a little bit of white there.
Yeah, I've got a lot of wine. Haven't you seen? But you,
I was trying to be nice.
he's definitely gone a bit crazy. You could be a silver fox now, Marcus.
I don't mind that. I don't mind the silver fox look. Salt and pepper. I quite like it.
I think we're probably about the same age, aren't we?
I don't know. How old are you? You go first.
I'm 54.
Oh. All right. So let's just quickly move on. I'm a bit older than you. So delay.
It's a compliment, then, isn't it? If I thought you were yeah, that's all.
Thank you. I'll take that. I'll take that. What about yeah, we talked about just doing it because learning from mistakes, but also getting into the habit. So even on small amounts, investing. Can you do that with property? Can you invest for smaller amounts?
Yes, you can. So people think you need to have a big 25%
They do.
deposits to put down. You've got to get a mortgage. But there are strategies which actually are similar to some of the ones you do in stock trading.
Yeah, I don't know. Go on. So what?
There was something called a purchase lease option.
Purchase
Lease.
lease option.
Yeah.
So something about an option to do
Yeah,
something.
so it's an option to buy an asset.
Okay.
You don't buy it now. You got
So what are you doing? Are you renting it?
you're renting it.
You're renting it, but you have an option.
An option to buy.
Ugh. Why would anybody not do that?
Yeah, and it's great because what you pay.
You don't have to exercise it.
No, you don't have to. You don't have to buy it if you don't want to. But if you've got a 5-year option, hopefully the value's gone up in that time. So not only can you make cash flow from property you don't own, you also get some capital growth as well.
Yeah, but what I don't understand about that, and I really don't know anything about it, and this is a stupid question, but at what price? There has to be a strike price.
Yeah.
I was talking about options.
Let's relate it to property, right? Let's say someone's got a property which they really don't want anymore. Okay, maybe they're a landlord setting up retiring. It's a lot to them at the moment.
Because you have to find a property they don't want anymore.
Yes, because they want to retire.
Okay.
Or they're a distant landlord, or they haven't educated themselves. They made loads of mistakes. That says we're worth 200,000 now. If a landlord wanted to sell it now, they're not going to get 200,000. They're going to have to sell it at a bit of a discount because it's a buyer's market. There are more sellers than there are buyers.
Okay, but that's worth 200. That must
It's worth 200,000.
Okay.
But if they want to sell it now because they want to get away from the hassle, they might sell it for 180, 190. So not getting the full price.
So you're locking in the 200,000.
So we lock in, we say, I'll tell you what, Marcus, I'll give you the full price you want if you give me the terms that I want.
Okay, what are the terms?
What do you mean the terms? Well, rather than buy now, I like to buy in the future. And they say, well, I don't want the hassle, but I'll take all the hassle away. I'll take responsibility away. I'll rent the property from you and give you a little bit of profit each month. Not as much as you make if you rented it normally, but you've got no hassle. And then I'll manage it. I'll look after it.
So hold on, who's who now? Are you the property?
So let's say you're the property owner.
Oh, I'm the property.
You're the property owner.
Yeah,
You're the property owner.
Okay.
You don't want...
I want to sell it at 200,000.
Yes,
Right.
But you're not going to sell the current market for 200,000.
Okay. No,
I'm going
no.
to say, tell it what,
So
you'll give you 200,000, but in 5 years' time.
Oh, I want it now.
Well, okay, well, just put it on the market. You'll have to sell for, I'll give you 170 for it.
Got it. So you're going to give me 200,000 in 5 years. What in the meantime? What?
In the meantime, well, if you sold that rental property you don't want anymore, you wouldn't get any more rental income from it, would you?
No.
No. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rent it for you, not for the full rent, but slightly less. Cover your costs, cover your mortgage, yeah.
So I'm going to get less.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you sold it, you wouldn't get anything.
Okay.
So what's more important to you, Marcus? Do you want to get money in the bank now, or do you want to get as much as you can for your property sale?
I don't know, but it sounds like as much as possible.
Yeah, okay. But you don't want to hassle.
I don't want the hassle.
Okay, so I will take away all the hassle.
Okay.
I'll give you a guaranteed rental income. You don't have any maintenance, but less.
Okay.
But then, well, at the moment, you might have a letting agent looking after it for you. What happens if your property's empty? Do you get any rent?
Okay. So you're guaranteeing me?
I'm guaranteeing you rent
Oh, every month?
every month
For the next how many years?
5 years.
Oh.
You don't have to worry about it.
Oh.
At the moment, Marcus, who pays for maintenance bills?
I do.
What about if I take on that responsibility for you?
Okay.
So you could
This is selling better now.
you could forget. You don't want this property anymore.
Right.
You could walk away, forget it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, as long as you don't need the money, if you're selling the property because you need the money now to pay off some other.
Fair enough. Oh, actually, I, to be honest, I don't need the money.
Okay, you'd sell it, just put it in the bank. I can make you.
But isn't like going to grow just a little bit? Can I sell it to you for 210,000? Is that
Well, if you want the capital growth, why not just hold on to it?
right?
Don't sell it.
Okay.
You don't want the hassle. So what's more important to you? Do you want to get away from the hassle, or do you want the growth?
I want to get away from the hassle.
Well, I'll take the hassle away from you.
Okay. So that's
But I'll give you a price that's more than you'd get now anyway.
Yeah. Yes. Good.
So we're sharing some of the benefit.
Oh, I might.
I take the hassle away.
Got it. Yeah, I'm a bit slow here, but this is good because if I would sell it now, I might not get 200,000 anyway. I probably wouldn't.
You probably would.
Because
And if you sold it now, you wouldn't get an ongoing income. I'm going to give you a couple £100 a month extra. That's
But how do I know that you are going to buy it? It's an option.
Well, it is an option, but I'm going to spend a bit of money doing it up.
Oi?
Yeah, I'm going to paint it, decorate it, and if I walk away, you've got an improved property.
Okay.
I might not, but it is an option in that we're going to do everything through solicitors. We do a proper
Actually,
contract.
I think it's quite good because if I was renting out, etc., and so forth, I would get the state agents involved, and they would take their share. That's all gone now.
Yeah.
So actually, you pay.
Yeah, that's paid.
It's just the same thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same.
And if you had a letting agent, if it's they're not going to pay you, are they?
No?
But I'm going to pay you every month. So it's my job to make sure it's full. So I do want to improve it, spend a bit of money improving the value of your property, which I will benefit from a long time. If I didn't buy, you benefit from.
Why am I not doing this?
Well, I know. I've got papers sold up here now if you want. Look, there are so many landlords selling right now. This is a great solution for them.
Yeah.
And we talked about the average person.
And what's this called?
It's called a purchase lease option.
Purchase lease option.
But here's the thing. Rather than renting the property out, I can live there.
Yeah.
So imagine
You're going to live it. Very good.
I do live in one. I don't own the house I live in.
All right.
I've got an option on it.
Yeah.
Because
You walk the talk.
it's quite a valuable house, the one I live in at the moment. And I will be buying it. But I said to my wife, I said, now if we buy this house, it's a lot of stamp duty. That's a tax you pay when you buy a house, right? I mean, it's a lot of stamp duty.
Right.
And I said, we can't just move in. You decide 6 months later you don't want it. So we've actually got a 2-year option on it. So we get to try before we buy. We check out, we like the house.
Yeah. The area.
Yeah, exactly. And we do love it. We're definitely going to buy it now. But,
You can exercise it at any stage.
anytime within that period, yeah.
So it's not 5 years. It's
Anytime.
So you could do it in 2 years, even though I was looking forward to the, and then you could come and buy it off me.
But actually, the longer, probably the more the capital growth.
Okay, I like this. I think this is
So this is a great way for people who could get on the housing. Maybe they don't have enough of an income now to afford a mortgage to buy the house.
Yeah.
But they could lock in a price now
yeah.
to stop it going up.
So and I bet you have lots of strategies like that up your sleeve.
Of course we do, yeah.
I love it. Okay, cool. Final question: when it comes to investing in assets, which mistake costs people the most? Do you think? And I've got a list here, so you choose. Is it waiting too long to start, investing without education or a strategy, taking on the wrong kind of debt, or chasing the hype, buying at the top?
I think all of those are problems.
Yeah.
I think probably most people probably put it off and never get around to investing. I think when people do start, they probably don't educate themselves enough. They just jump in. How hard could it be? I'll watch a few YouTube videos. I think people don't get the difference between good debt and bad debt. And I will buy an asset. I'm happily get into debt if I'm buying an asset. By the way, I think investing in myself is an asset. I'm increasing my ability to earn money. So in the past, when I first
You see that?
when I did Tony Robbins, I put that £10,000 wealth mastery on a credit card.
Yeah,
I didn't know how I was going to pay for it.
No,
Got 3 cars to pay for it.
same.
But it's one of the best things I ever did.
Of course.
I think investing in yourself is the very best investment you can, followed very close by property, then probably followed by stocks and shares.
Was there? Hold on now. Hold on. I think that's we're going to do an interview, and we're going to go a little bit more head to head. So a normal person, it kind of works, spends money, saves a little bit. It's probably got a lot of debt.
Most people probably don't do that. Most people probably work, they spend a bit of money, probably spend a bit more than they earn, and they get into debt rather than saving.
Do you think that's an education thing? Is it a cultural thing?
It's people want instant gratification. They don't want to wait. They put things on credit cards. Credit cards can be great when used correctly, but most people don't do it because they don't never teach you. And in fact, in a very cynical way, you might say it's not in the interest of society and banks to teach you correctly.
No, absolutely. Cynical. I think that's the truth. It's not that they don't want to, but they just don't do it. So building assets, that's what it's all about. Building assets, but more than that, building assets so that give you residual income.
Yes.
Wow.
A residual passive, very similar, really.
Yeah. I think that's just absolutely fantastic.
And it's never too early to start. So if someone's new to investing, start educating themselves.
Was it too late?
We've had people who've been in their late 60s, early 70s, and they think, I can't get a mortgage now. Well, they probably wouldn't be able to get a residential mortgage. They can still get investment mortgage. I've got a client who's 70, just got a 20-year mortgage.
That's brilliant.
Because it's not based on their income, it's based on the income generated by the property.
Yes.
So it's never too late to start.
Fantastic.
Often, the older people are not investing for themselves, they're doing it for their kids or their grandkids.
Oh.
And by the way, if you want to help your kids and grandkids, the best way to help them is not give them loads of money, it's to lead by example.
Lead by example.
Show them how to do it.
Yes. Show them how to do it. Make sure that they not just have that education, but that's conditioned. It's very hard to figure out. So
Good rituals.
yeah, absolutely good rituals. Simon, that was fascinating. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marcus. That's awesome.
That was awesome. I love that. And by the way, if you want to make sure that you avoid the mistakes that cost beginners thousands or even more than thousands, please start with our money management calculator. Available today for free. You can get it below in the chat. And final thoughts on the cost of doing nothing might be the biggest money mistake of all. We look forward to seeing you at the next episode, The Lunchtime Investor. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you for coming on, Simon.